ماتر عصام عمرو، أهلا وسهلا فيك بحق بودكاست. عادة أنت اللي بتحاور، اليوم نحن اللي عم نحاورك. أهلا وسهلا بحق، ومش بس أهلا وسهلا بحق، أهلا وسهلا ببيروت. نحن اليوم عم نصور من مكتب بيروت. And again, one of the things I love about you, what I find most impressive, is the fact you're so experienced on a multicultural, multi-dimensional level. يعني, I'm gonna say things maybe you don't want people to know about you, but I'm gonna say them anyway. أنت الأصل كسروان، مدرسة بالإنجيلية English School ببعبدة الويزة، جامعة بالحكمة، and then كفيت masters ب University of Westminster London, and now you're a member of the bar Beirut, and I think as well London, and you founded the law review معي as well a couple of years back, and you've been involved بحق since day one. So how did you get here? What was this direction that took you on this multicultural trajectory in life? كيف صارت?
I think it probably goes back to the school, because Lebanon Evangelical School probably was the cornerstone for multicultural and multicultural perspectives, the innovation, involving you in extracurricular activities, which later on in life they turn out to be entrepreneurial ideas. And I think that's how we came up with Lebanon Law Review. We just want to replicate something we already did once, and I think it was just one phone call and one idea, and we just went like, okay, we'll do this. And I think that's a big reason why we're here and how all of this happened.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, LES, the school, is a far cry from London, right? How did you, as a Lebanese lawyer, say, no, I need this international exposure, this international formation? And did it pay off? Did it live up to expectations for you?
It did. It exceeded expectations. And I think it all goes down to how you perceive it. For example, some people just end up doing their masters abroad and then coming back home, just getting back to the basic track of working as a lawyer over here, practicing, doing the 3-year traineeship program, and then they just forget about it. But what I did was a bit different. So I realized I need the international exposure. During that time, we were still in the midst of the financial crisis, the economic crisis in Lebanon, the banking crisis, and everyone was looking for alternatives. And I didn't want to look at the masters as just a program I do and just leave. I made sure I attended every conference, every seminar, every networking event that had to do with the modules I took, the courses I wanted to get involved in. And that's why I realized that even as a Lebanese lawyer, we tend to have regional exposure. So I said, why not even broaden my experience and get the international exposure, make connections, and live up to what I wanted my London experience to be like.
And so, how has London opened your eyes?
First of all, it helped me be myself. In Lebanon, you have to live multicultural inevitably, even though you're living in one country. And you even mentioned it somehow, introducing me, coming from Kisirwan, staying in Babda, going to Sajjad University. So there is a multicultural dimension even within the same country. And there's even an even further multicultural dimension in London, walking down one street. You'd go from far east to far west. And that's what I love about it. But you, as one individual, you do not have to live an identity crisis or an identity dilemma. You can just have one identity, one cultural identity, one mindset, and just live by it day by day.
So you felt more of a cultural crisis or an identity crisis here at home than you did abroad?
Somehow, yes, and I felt that even when we launched the Lebanon Law Review and even working here, And even if you go to different courts in Lebanon,
Right?
judges, employees, colleagues, different lawyers, they think differently, they treat you differently. While over there, even if you think differently, you just don't
Get
act
treated
upon it.
differently.
Yes.
You can think however you want, but you don't get treated differently.
Yes.
That's what's different about London.
Yes, but that's what's beautiful about Lebanon as well, that you have to adapt, and that's why it's known that Lebanese people adapt anywhere and everywhere.
Right, because you're always adapting at home.
You're always adapting at home.
And home never really feels like home, does it?
It does.
It does?
It does. Every time I'm back in Beirut, every time I'm back in Lebanon, I just have the urge to stay here.
Wow. Wow. And so, as a professional, you know, are you planning to come back? Is this something that is... Because look, London is obviously a better market, right? So, what are the advantages? And is there a middle ground that Lebanese legal professionals can take?
Going back home is always the final goal. It's the destination. It's not a checkpoint even on the journey, along the journey. It's a destination. I think nowadays, especially with how law firms are structured and even the big law or the different categories of law firms, you have to build some sort of system where you have to work here, work regionally, work internationally, and still have this exposure, be on the go all year round. So I think it's very important. But if you start from here and go abroad, it's a bit more. It's not impossible, but it's a bit more difficult. Even though in Lebanon you can build a clientele, you can build a portfolio of clients around you, you can do lots of things, but getting the international exposure first, and then coming back home, establishing what you can establish, and maintain this balance is very, very much important, I think.
It is? It is?
It is, because at one point you cannot think local and you cannot stay local. And I guess that's a major part of what you guys, or what we are doing at HAQQ. And
I think we never considered ourselves local to begin with. I think the vision since day one for us has been global, because the problem is global. The need is global.
there you go.
And so I don't feel we should be bound by geography. And, you know, better than anyone, we have operations in, you know, tens of different countries. And we've grown tremendously. And I think a big part of that is because, in a sense, in today's market, geography is imaginary in a way for the internet. Geography really is imaginary. It's not 100% imaginary, but I would say it's 60% imaginary, and you still have to deal with the other 40%.
Exactly.
Right? But as a lawyer, adapting to different legal systems, adapting to the rise of technology, adapting to the uncertainty, you know, the risk. How do you push forward knowing that perhaps, and many people say this, there won't be a legal profession in the next 50 years? You know, obviously I have my thoughts on that. I've said it, right? We have a company to do the opposite, but what are your thoughts?
Okay, so the other day when I was coming back to Lebanon, I met a lady. She was sitting right next to me. She's here in Beirut. I guess she's flying tomorrow. She was here for 3 days just to give a talk at AUB and tell people how important it is to get back into AUB and how AUB helped her. And she said that her kids now live in London, okay? And she told me, I do not want to give the classical talk. I want to give a talk where I can address my children and convince them why it's important to come back to AUB and study and what this exposure gives. This is not an ad or a promo for AUB, but the thing is, she said that you need to be able to adapt quickly, you have to be tech savvy, you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. Why? Because the classic professions that used to exist and still do exist will not have the same features or will not operate in the same way they used to or they are operating right now. And I think that's why it's important to be willing to take risks and to take calculated risks and to be open to an entrepreneurial mindset. Because at the end of the day, nowadays, with the economy we're in, one job cannot sustain. And with how fast technology is moving, one profession is not enough. You have to be able to do multiple things at once, and it's doable.
You know, speaking of risk, most people would not call you a risk taker. But I know you better than most, and I think you've taken some major risks in your life. Would you mind sharing a few memorable ones?
I think starting the Lebanon Law Review was a risk for
Really?
both of us.
Wow.
Yes.
I think it's time you tell your side of the story, right?
Probably the timing was the biggest risk, and yet we did it. And it benefited the writers and the law students who wrote in the law review as much as it benefited us and even more.
So when you say timing, I think some people would need a bit of context. What timing?
Actually, you called me wanting to start the Lebanon Law Review on the 7th of November, 2019.
Right.
And
Time flies. Yeah.
exactly. And October 17th had already started, and the situation was not the best in Lebanon. And we aimed for a launch in February or March of 2020. The first thing we did is we came up with the name, we came up with the logo, and then we started onboarding writers before we even launched. And I think to this date, we have more than 100 writers who contributed or were contributing, and some of them are now PhD candidates or are even doctors in law. And the timing was a major risk because I didn't think we'd be able to operate it, and I didn't think students would want to write. And the first thing we did was we interviewed the president of the Beirut Bar Association back then. And I think that gave us a great boost.
Yeah, it did. It did. So I guess there was a bit of timing risk, a bit of entrepreneurial, operational risk.
Oh no, that's just one side of the risk. Then there's convincing students who are probably 5-6 years older than you and who are PhD candidates that you have to come write for us on a system, or actually not write for us, write for your own benefit, for your own sake, and just publish it on a platform we established for you to be seen, for your writings to be visible, for your legal opinions to be known. But then you have to convince them that you're going to have to do it in a format we established because that's how it looks better, that's how international standards
You
are.
gotta teach them, in a sense. You gotta set your own standards, and many people weren't really okay with that. Do you remember?
I do remember very well. And sometimes we even got into it because someone was not okay about it. And
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess you gotta keep the standards high, don't you? But look, being a founder is something unique. Being a founder is something unique because you're taking things from 0 to 1. You're taking something that doesn't exist because ideas don't exist. Everyone has ideas, and that's not what being a founder is. Being a founder is being able to bring those ideas to life against everything and everyone, and being able to do it despite a lot of pressure not to from literally everyone around you. So you're one of the few lawyers I know that are founders, and you did a really good job with the Lebanon Law Review because, I mean, one, we grew it into a household name, and we also exited, right? And that's also very unique. We had an exit. We actually sold the company. And so my question to you here is more like, what qualities do you think make a really good founder? And how many of them help you be a good lawyer?
being a good lawyer is not just about knowing the law. in many cases, you need to know the people. You need to know how to manage people more than managing the law itself. Especially whether as a transactional lawyer or as a disputes lawyer. Because in both cases, you're dealing with people and you need to know how to manage these people around. So that's one quality which you need in both. And another quality, I think, is the willingness to continue learning and to learn constantly and continuously. Because you need that, and without that, you will not sustain. Not as a lawyer, nor as a founder. Because at one point, someone else who knows better is going to come along and just move you out of the way. So I think these two are very much important. And the willingness to fail, as cliche as it sounds. Because as a lawyer, you're not always going to win a case. You're not always going to get a deal signed. And you have to be okay with it. You don't need to take it personal.
How do you do that? How do you deal with failure?
You embrace it. You understand why it happened. And it's not true that you always have to find a way to avoid it happening again, because the whole idea is to fail and fail again, and all the successes happen in between. Even if you don't know it, but if you zoom out a bit and you just look around, you realize how much success you've done, how much you've accomplished along the way. And the whole idea is to consider all the achievements as just basic checkpoints. I wanted to end on something, but I'll say it right now. You have to live in pursuit. Like, just live in pursuit endlessly. Have some major checkpoints, but they're not the final goals or destinations. Do not fixate on something. That's something a friend told me, and I repeat that to myself every single time I fixate on something and it doesn't work out. Just remind myself that that's not the end of the story. Just do not fixate on this. There are many other ways to go around it, and that's probably what makes a good entrepreneur. And you have to put your emotions aside. You have to emotionally detach from the outcomes. That's where it all happens.
So it's sort of like living the journey without the destination, right? Like the pursuit is everything to you, and so failure is just. How do you look at failure? Do you feel like it's? How do you look at it? You told me how you deal with it, but how do you look at it?
I look at it in two different perspectives. One, it could be an opportunity to grow and develop.
Yeah.
And two, it could be devastating for someone who just looked at the destination
And didn't get there.
And many people, they break. Some people divert, they just change direction. And there's a group in between that just
stays persistent. And that's where they win, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, I found the same. When you're a founder, when you have your own company, when you have your own project, the secret sauce is persistence. I think it's just not giving up. And I think you and I both saw that multiple times because we've done it together.
We did.
And so many other people, had the same idea and started something similar around the same time, but they never persisted, did they? And I guess the value starts to compound with time, and all you got to do is just keep going, And I think that's what really sets the winners apart. So, looking at all of this, and you being who you are, you're a published author, you're a legal instructor, you're previously the legal director for the Law Review, you're currently our community lead at HAQQ. I see you as someone with moral and intellectual authority in the space, and I think many people do as well. What sort of mental model or advice do you have for people who are just starting out and they don't know where to go?
First of all, thank you for what you said about me. If I would tell them something, it's be open to new ideas, and do not fixate on what you think is good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're studying law in
Mm-hmm.
Lebanon, it's a 4-year degree, so there's something new to learn every year. So there's plenty of time for you to know where you want to go and where you're heading, and there's always an option for you to do something else, even within the legal industry. Do not think if you started somewhere, you're going to be stuck there for the rest of your life. There's always a way around it to end up doing what you want to do, end up doing what you love.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Issam, thank you so much for this episode. It was great having you.
It's my pleasure, and it's great being here again. Thank you so much.